supported by the international communities, and that Canadians should put an end to it. Come the 90s, we became part of government. I was sent as a parliamentary secretary for trade, also abroad, mainly to Europe, and pretty well most of the meetings that I met with politicians, this issue consistently was raised. And every time I came back home and wanted to do something or say something about it, it just, like the wall of China, got erupted. And quickly, I was able to take my seat back and sit silently and wait my time until the next opportunities. Comes 2003, I was appointed to the Senate. And I stopped thinking, and I continuously thinking about the way to advance the issue forward. And there was a little reception. I've been telling the story everywhere I go because I wanted you to understand the fact that through the will of one and the expertise of others, you can do a lot of things. I attended a reception where I saw members from IFAW at that reception, and I was speaking with a member of IFAW and telling him what I was thinking that I wanted to do, and I was wondering if they would be interested in helping me out. And the response was very positive. Didn't take much before the phone rang, and members of the IFAW organization showed up, and we started to work on mapping out the strategy in order to propose in the Senate a bill that will bring about a debate. I wasn't thinking ever, I'm a realist, I knew it would not probably pass the Senate, but I thought what would happen is that because it is the Senate, because it is a place where you're supposed to be debating difficult issues and regional issues and issues of national and international and national interest, that's the place to debate them. That's exactly why the Senate is there, to debate specifically issues like that. I thought, I'm sure there would be no problem. I would be able to get a hearing, and I would be able to get this bill to a committee, and I would be able to mount some sort of a campaign along with IFAW and other groups and communities across the countries, and perhaps we might be able to convince the committee to do something about it. And I was enthusiastic enough that I told IFAW, I'm sure that will happen. And of course they told me, Senator, maybe you need to be to pay a little more attention, maybe you're going to get a lot of resistance. Are you sure you want to do this? I said, yes, absolutely. And so I went on another trip to Europe about 3 years ago, along with some of my colleagues at the European Union, where there was a meeting of the members of parliament there. And not only in the public debate, like in terms of the General Assembly, but in terms of corridors and everywhere, the talk was pretty well unanimous, with the exception of a representative of 2 countries. And guess who are those 2 countries? Canada, and the next one, Norway. Norway, because that's the place where they take those pellets and manufacture them and process them in Canada, because we produce them and sell them to them. And I just looked at the leader of our delegation and at the members of parliament from the Norway, and sort of, I said to myself, well, this is like almost, we are like mercenaries here. It looked like we are really catering to special interests here. And I spoke with an individual who I will not name, and I said to him, I said, what is the size of this industry? He said, well, you know, it's about $30 million at peak times. I said, it seemed to be like a big deal for these parliamentarians. He said, yes. Around this time, around the sealing time, every embassy pretty well throughout Europe, they have about 2 weeks of the worst nightmares of the whole year. People walk, throw tomatoes, they send them emails, letters, calls, to the point, in some cases, they shut down the embassy altogether for the day. Wow. So, and I presume that some ambassadors and some officials would be extremely happy if this whole industry shut down. Wouldn't you think would be more economical for us? Of course it would be. And it was those talks and corridors that convinced me even more. When I come back to Canada, I said to myself, there's no way something like this shouldn't continue at all, because it's embarrassing us on the international scene. It's making us look like fools. And I came back, and of course, this time around, I emailed, was out of the country, emailed IFAW, and I said, you know, February, I forgot the date, wanted to meet, and I have something important I want to discuss. And sure enough, we had the meeting, and I proposed that we proceed publicly with the bill. And again, I was alerted that it might receive a frosty reaction, but nonetheless, we decided to proceed. And come March the 3rd, the day before March the 3rd, I asked my assistants to phone the Secretary of the Senate to find if there's any possible way my bill could be blocked. She phoned and was told by the officials, no, there's no conceivable way, it's impossible. They never ever a member of Parliament or a member of the Senate who will introduce a bill would be blocked. That's sort of it's a common courtesy afforded to every member of Parliament and to every senator. That's the way it works. They may vote against you, but they will allow you to introduce it. I said, you know, to my assistant, I said, that would be the best thing they could ever do, if in fact they could block me. And that's the truth. But nonetheless, I said, well, that's okay. They're not going to be able to block it. At least I'll have a chance to have a discussion, and my colleagues to have a proper debate, and they would vote against it, that's fine. In the meantime, as a courtesy to my colleagues, I sent out a letter to inform them the fact that there would be a bill coming forward before the Senate, so it doesn't come up as a surprise to anyone. And within about an hour or so of my letter, I was alerted that fishery notions, Department of Fishing notions, the government of Canada, in fact, the minister, on behalf of the government of Canada, is attacking me on the World Wide Web with a press release, partisan in nature, using taxpayers' money, and attacking the party, that is my party, that in fact wasn't even supporting me, for thinking about introducing a bill. Now I haven't introduced it, for thinking. So it's not only they wanted to shut down the freedom of expression, but the thought. And that's even go like beyond belief. And so come the day, they put in sort of almost like not a preemptive strike, but sort of the preamble of what's going to take place. So we had an emergency meeting of the different caucuses, and I knew the writing were on the wall. And sure enough, when I stood up to introduce my bill, it went down like a cold turkey. Not one soul of my colleagues had the courage to second the bill, although it wasn't necessary. The reason why, because I know the rules. I sat on the committee that works on rules in the House of Commons for many years. And I know how it works. Normally, the Speaker will say, well, you know, Senator James introducing a bill dealing with such and such, and we will second it by so-and-so. They'll pick a name from anywhere. It doesn't matter, because that's a routine procedure. Now, the Speaker who smartly decided to use something outside of what normally should be used, which he called for somebody to second it, I just looked around and I said to myself, no, there's got to be one intelligent, courageous person here who's going to say, yeah, I will, you know. I just looked around, it's not one. Now, there are a couple that I could have counted on them should they have been there, but they were not in the Senate chamber. And so then the Speaker said, well, then it won't go through first reading. Okay. Immediately I asked my staff to call, because I knew that you cannot block a bill. It's not something that is feasible. And sure enough, It turned out what they have done indirectly, or directly, what they have done indirectly for me is to put fuel in the fire that it proved to be very good. And that is not to be able to ever kill the bill. How's that? Because once you introduce a bill, you go through reading of the bill. So you print the bill,